War doesn't just happen on battlefields. It quietly impacts your daily life in ways you might not even notice. From rising fuel prices to expensive groceries, global conflicts disrupt supply chains, increase production costs, and drive inflation. Even if you're far from the conflict zone, your wallet feels the pressure. In this video, we'll break down how war is making everyday life more expensive and why it matters more than you think. Today, we will talk about how war is making everyday life more expensive. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Introduction. The hidden cost of conflict war is often seen through the lens of politics, power, and human tragedy. But its economic consequences quietly shape everyday life across the globe. Even if a conflict is happening thousands of miles away, its ripple effects can reach your home through rising prices, shrinking purchasing power, and financial uncertainty. From fuel and food to housing and transportation, war disrupts the delicate balance of global supply and demand. As economies adjust to instability, ordinary people are left paying more for the same basic needs. Understanding how and why this happens reveals just how deeply interconnected the modern world has become. 1. War and inflation, the core economic link. At the heart of rising costs during wartime is inflation, the general increase in prices over time. War creates both supply-side and demand-side pressures that push prices upward. On the supply side, conflicts disrupt production, damage infrastructure, and limit the availability of goods. On the demand side, governments increase spending dramatically to fund military operations, often injecting more money into the economy. When more money chases fewer goods, prices rise. This combination of reduced supply and increased demand is a powerful driver of inflation, making everyday items, from groceries to clothing, more expensive. While inflation can occur in peacetime, war accelerates it, often unpredictably and unevenly across sectors. 2. Energy prices, the first domino to fall. One of the most immediate and visible impacts of war is the rise in energy prices. Many conflicts occur in or near regions rich in oil and natural gas, such as the Middle East. When supply from these regions is disrupted, global energy markets react quickly. Oil prices spike, leading to higher fuel costs for transportation, manufacturing, and electricity generation. Recent developments show that war-driven energy price increases are already pushing up costs in sectors like airfare, groceries, and fertilizers. Because energy is a foundational input in almost every industry, higher fuel prices cascade through the entire economy. This is why even people far from conflict zones suddenly find themselves paying more at the gas station and in their utility bills. 3. Supply chain disruptions and scarcity. Modern economies rely heavily on global supply chains, where goods are produced, transported, and assembled across multiple countries. War disrupts these networks by damaging infrastructure, restricting trade routes, and creating geopolitical uncertainty. Factories may shut down, ports may close, and transportation becomes more expensive or dangerous. As a result, fewer goods reach the market, leading to shortages. When supply drops but demand remains constant or even increases, prices rise. This explains why everyday items like electronics, food, and clothing can suddenly become more expensive or harder to find during times of conflict. 4. Food prices and agricultural impact. War also affects food production and distribution. Conflict zones often include major agricultural regions, and fighting can destroy farmland, reduce labor availability, and interrupt exports. In addition, higher fuel and fertilizer costs, both heavily influenced by war, raise the cost of farming. In many regions affected by war, food and housing costs rise sharply, placing additional strain on households. Since food is a basic necessity, even small increases in price can significantly impact household budgets, particularly for low and middle-income families. 5. Government spending and money supply. Petty wars are expensive, requiring massive government spending on weapons, logistics, and personnel. To finance this, governments often borrow heavily or increase the money supply. In some cases, central banks may print more money or purchase government debt to support war efforts. While this helps fund military operations, it can also reduce the value of currency. When more money circulates without a corresponding increase in goods and services, inflation rises. Over time, this erodes purchasing power, meaning people need more money to buy the same things they once could afford. 6. Labor shortages and rising wages. War pulls people away from the workforce, either through military service or displacement. This reduces the available labor pool, especially in key industries like manufacturing and agriculture. At the same time, demand for certain goods, such as weapons and supplies, increases. With fewer workers and higher demand, wages often rise. While higher wages may seem beneficial, they also increase production costs for businesses. These higher costs are typically passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices, contributing further to inflation. 7. Global economic uncertainty and market reactions. War creates uncertainty, and markets react strongly to uncertainty. Investors become cautious, currencies fluctuate, and trade relationships may shift. This instability can lead to higher costs for imports, especially for countries that rely on foreign goods or raw materials. According to global economic research, wars often lead to long-term economic damage, including reduced growth, higher debt, and persistent inflation. Even countries not directly involved in the conflict can experience these effects, as global trade and financial systems are deeply interconnected. 8. The everyday impact. Why your life gets more expensive. All these factors, rising energy costs, disrupted supply chains, increased government spending, and economic uncertainty, combine to affect everyday life. Inflation means your money loses value, so you pay more for essentials like food, transportation, and housing. What makes this particularly challenging is that wages often do not keep pace with rising prices, effectively reducing living standards. Households may need to cut back on spending, save less, or take on debt to maintain their lifestyle. In essence, war acts like a hidden tax on everyday life, one that affects millions of people who may have no direct connection to the conflict itself. Conclusion. A global chain reaction war is not just a geopolitical event. It is an economic shockwave that travels across borders and industries. It disrupts production, increases costs, and fuels inflation in ways that touch nearly every aspect of daily life. In a globalized world, no country is truly isolated from these effects. Understanding how war makes everyday life more expensive helps individuals make better financial decisions and highlights the importance of economic stability in maintaining quality of life. Ultimately, the cost of war is not only measured in dollars or destroyed infrastructure, but in the everyday struggles of people trying to afford basic necessities in an increasingly expensive world. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up, leave a comment, and click the button to subscribe.